I'm representing Toxin Magazine, and we understand that some questions were sent to you, but apparently you didn't get a chance to answer.
I've been working on dealing with the problem.
Okay, so the question is...
I'm not going to answer those questions unless they're directly related to transportation, because some of those questions, I'm not going to go and discuss that. If we'd like to have a conversation, we can, but I'd like to talk about the transportation and moving forward and getting the schools open tomorrow.
So you don't believe the crisis is related to the accusation, like an allegation that
I'm not going to go there, Mr. Eagle.
On vacation, and you won't speak about that at all?
Yeah, I shared that I was on vacation, that it was approved. That's all I'm going to, let's talk about the transportation crisis.
We believe it's all related. And there's now discussion about, well, we don't know if it's rumors about infighting between you and another board member. There's no infighting at all?
I don't feel there's infighting. I have a very positive and collaborative relationship with the board members.
And so just the last point, the investigation that I mentioned, you don't believe that's being called in terms of questioning your leadership?
I don't believe it's a call into my leadership. I believe it's to have an understanding of where we are relative to notifications and the crisis and what happened that got us to this point. So I'll leave with that question.
Superintendent, what is the latest in terms of safety, in terms of getting kids that have to walk to school, making sure they're getting to school safely? Is there any updates on that in terms of talks with RPD or anything like that?
So we've had conversations with a sergeant to talk about the possibilities of either shifting or adding crossing guards. We're working on safe passage zones. Kelly Briggs, who oversees strategic partnerships, has been working with parents and with community groups to ensure that that students do get to and from school safely if they have to walk.
Are you aware that some parents do want to have their children learning remotely initially?
I do, and one of the issues with that is our district was one of the few districts in the state that were remote longer than some of the other districts. And so if you look at the CDC guidelines, Center for Disease Control, or the American Association of Pediatrics, and certainly our governor and the commissioner, they are all saying that even though there is the desire for families, and I recognize that with the COVID variant that some families are concerned, but it really is important to get students back in school to the extent that we can.
And lastly, what has this past 6 days been like for you, for your team? You know, every day something's changing. Every day it seems like problems are getting solved and then something else happens. What has this been like for you, this process?
So certainly very complex and challenging, but I think what it's enabled us to do is to really galvanize around the issue that we have the desire to get all of our students back into schools, and we've worked really hard to do that, and we've made significant progress over the past several days to make that happen. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
And you are requesting that she cut her vacation short and return to Rochester. Is that, in fact, what happened?
No, it's not, and I'm glad you asked me about that, because I know I did see the article. It was forwarded to me, the digital version, and it suggested that there was a source that told whoever reported it that that's what happened. First, let me tell you, the superintendent apparently was on vacation. When I called her in response to that email that you heard her describe today, because I was obviously concerned. And I said to her, Leslie, let's talk about this. And she said, oh, I'm on my way back. I think she said something to the effect, I'm on my way back into town. I never said to her, where are you? When are you coming back? And I certainly never said to her, get back here right away. And I have no reason to lie or misrepresent that. It was a good conversation. It was an important conversation, because what she was describing there would not obviously serve our children. But I never, and this is, Howard, this is the reason why I was going to call the staff, and I even spoke to Leslie about this, because some people said, oh, I'm just speaking to you very real. Oh, that makes you look like you're a decisive leader. You told her to come back. I was very concerned about what I read, but I'm just be honest with you, Howard, as I know I can be. That's not who I am. I didn't, and more importantly, I didn't need to be that person, because she was already on her way back. And again, I don't have any reason to lie. And in fact, I've had people say, "Oh yeah, you ought to let that story just lay the way it is, because it makes it look like you're decisive." Well, the fact is, what was happening in our schools was unacceptable. But I didn't have to tell Leslie to come back.
So we want to get the truth to the community.
Sure.
The truth is apparently that she realized that it was important.
I don't know, because I'm going to be honest with you, I never said to her, where are you, or are you on your way back? She told me very early in the conversation, I'm on my way back. And we just continued to talk about the important matter, which was what's going on with our buses. That was it. And again, I don't, some people might say I have every reason to lie and let that story just roll. I wouldn't do that because that's not me. If it had to be me, it would have been. And it wasn't Leslie, because I didn't have to tell her to do anything, because she had decided for whatever reason, perhaps her vacation was over. I don't know. She was coming back.